Welcome to the Unshakable Growth. I'm Esti, and let's get started. Welcome to the Unshakable Growth podcast, where we deep dive into stories and strategies from different guest speakers and using their stories to empower you to grow into a better version of yourself. Today, I'm so excited to have Carlos here with us, and I know Carlos from my local Toastmasters Club. Carlos is one of the best speakers in the club, and his inspiring story and theoretical speeches that he shared on stage is really impressive. And I'm really excited to have him here in my podcast today. Welcome to my podcast, Carlos.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Esti.
Mm-hmm. Do you mind introducing yourself for a little bit?
Yeah, what can I say? I'm a very active man who makes sure not to waste any single minute of his week, and that's why I'm doing this Toastmasters. I've been doing improv for a while, but probably my main passion is martial arts. I used to do a bit of music, but I've had
Yeah.
to cut stuff out because there's too much happening. So yeah,
Wow, it's
very busy at the moment.
well, it seems like you have been doing so many things like Toastmasters, improv, and martial arts.
Mhm.
So, because I know you from the Toastmasters Club, I'm just wondering if you have any insights to share a little bit in terms of speaking. So, just to get this started, how did you first get involved in Toastmasters and even improv that you mentioned just now? If you would like to explain a little bit what is improv, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so what was it first, the chicken or the egg? I think in my case was improv first. It actually was after lockdown, end of COVID. So we had to get out of the cave and learn how to be social again.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was just going to some of these meetups. Not sure if you know some events that you can do in the city. And it was one Sunday morning. I was just looking for something to do, really. And I saw this improv one, and I had no idea what improv was at the time. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I'll go check it out, have some fun. And you know what? When I went there, I had no idea what it was about, but I laughed so much, like I hadn't laughed so much in years. So I thought, I have to explore this.
Mm-hmm.
And I went every now and then, casually, but eventually that started aligning with other areas of my life, which has to do with working on my people skills and emotional intelligence and confidence and all that stuff. And I discovered that improv it's just a great space or a great craft for working on all of that. And interestingly, through improv, I found out about Toastmasters.
Oh,
Some of the members do Toastmasters,
yeah.
so I was recommended to go and check it out
Mm-hmm.
because the good news or bad news about improv is that it can be quite wild, quite creative. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters I find is a bit more structured. So this is my
Ah.
speech, first point, second point, third point, summary.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas improv is like who knows what comes next, kind of keep building.
Oh,
So the challenge for Toastmasters was a bit more looking for that structure, perhaps, when I talk.
yeah. So you would say improv is less structured and it can to be go with the flow. Is that what it is, or does it have to include like humorous perspective or different kind of perspective into
Yep. So,
the
so
speech?
to those points, the first one, you could do structured improv if you want, but
Mm-hmm.
usually it tends to lend itself to creativity and like exploring places in your mind, in the team's environment or situation they are crafting. So it tends to go places. You
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to. You could do a super structured scene if you wanted, like intro, 3 points, and ending. But because it's different personalities, different backgrounds, different people, it gets who knows where it's gonna go. That's the best answer.
Yeah, so it's based on the speaker himself.
Yeah, and it's not just a you thing. You see, you may be
Mm-hmm.
playing with one, two, or more people on the scene. So you wanna talk about, my martial arts this morning in the gym, and someone else talks about their dog, and then someone says an alien's coming. So your martial arts is long gone. You have to get on go with where the team goes.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. And I know that in Toastmasters, we have to prepare some speeches. to go along those pathways. So I'm just wondering, when you prepare your speech, do you have any special techniques, and does those techniques evolve over time?
So I would still consider myself a junior as Toastmasters. I've been there for under a year, but I can tell you how I do it. At this stage, another thing aligning with my Toastmasters speeches is my storytelling. Last year and this year as well, there's a big focus for me to improve my storytelling. It's a goal for this year, and that's why my speeches are kind of story, so they're a bit of a story. And I did a storytelling course last year. So what I do currently with my speeches, I'm gonna go and write down the speech, so like literally from beginning to end, and then I apply some storytelling techniques into it. Make sure there's like ups and downs, like some things happening, some tension, and at the end there's the conclusion. So the first step is I write down the whole script, and then I may refine it a bit until it's kind of good enough. Then second step is start rehearsing. So I'm gonna read it a bit, so then I know timing, like which bits seem longer, which seem too short, and then through practicing I start adjusting the timing a bit better.
Yeah.
And then the next stage is screw the script. It's when I do improv. That's when I just kind of try to remember the steps of the story. First step is I wake up in the morning. Second step is I go to the gym. Third step is something happens. Fourth step is conclusion. So I try to
Yeah.
remember those steps and kind of improvise the speech, remembering those steps. And at the end, having a bit of best of both worlds. I look again at the script, what I'm saying, and then I
Yeah.
kind of see what things work from the scripted option, what things work from the improvised option, and then
Yeah.
kind of craft a combined version.
So when you first started, you also have a full script of the stories,
Yeah,
and then when you progress further, you started to just remember by the storyline, and then you go with the flow, improvise.
the script is a fairly recent thing after my teacher slapping me many times. Yeah, make sure you have it of structure too.
Uh-huh.
So now I force myself to write it down fast, and
Yep.
I bring the fun with the improv.
Yeah. And I realized in our recent meetings, you did share a little bit of stories, and then most of the stories are from a third point of view, which is very different from what other speakers we have there in the club. So what makes you decide to do a storytelling kind of version instead of sharing from a first person point of view?
So you got me, and the reason why I do it that way is
Uh-huh.
the keyword here, which is vulnerability.
Mm,
I think that's been a big topic also for the last few years. Maybe my upbringing, I was raised thinking that I always have to be strong, and show no weakness. So I really
mm,
had to work on admitting that sometimes I'm scared of things, or sometimes I don't have the answers. So this one, I'm afraid I don't have the answer for. I guess the challenge is the certain things I don't want to disclose too easily.
mm.
So in the past, I've done more personal speeches,
Yep.
but sometimes when I talk about certain elements, yeah, I'm struggling to find the balance between how much do I share, how much do I not,
Mm-hmm.
and generally at the moment, I'm just trying to share a message.
Yep.
Little secret. I hope this is not being recorded. Some elements of me go into it. So as much as I'm talking about this character called Arnas, I'm
Mm-hmm.
showing some bits of myself, my own story into it.
So you actually create a fictional character, and then you add a little bit of probably your character's insight to the to fit that character of the story.
I guess it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
It's always a bit of you going into it. So
Yeah. I think that's a great idea actually. So yeah, I mean, if you protect your privacy a lot, and yeah, I think that's a good way to put it into the story, and because ultimately we just want to share a message at the end of the day, right? Throughout the speech. So I think that's a really great idea.
yeah, and you're making me think in some contexts. Like sometimes I do speeches with like how to say underprivileged schools, or like with kiddos that have other struggles, so more of a social nature, that's when I'm gonna go full blast and like be super honest and tell my real stories and struggles. But
Yeah.
maybe that I learned from improv. Know your crowd, so depending on where,
Yeah.
you have to be wary of what you say, how you
Mhm.
say it.
Yeah. That's a really good tip for me. And can you also share how Toastmasters and improv help you to improve your communication skills since that you have done it almost a year now?
Yeah. Maybe improv is the one I've done the longest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a game changer completely. Again, I didn't go directly into it for that reason. I just randomly stumbled across it. But as going more and more, I realized that the power of it, or the opportunity within it,
Yep.
and it just any social context, even now, in a conversation like at work, with friends, at the gym, anywhere where you have to talk to others, that improv kicks in. The fact of
Mm-hmm.
talking and being able to manage the conversation and see what the other likes, what the other doesn't. So if this is not working, then find the other topic that they like. Finding commonalities, bringing
Yeah.
some fun into it, which is also an element I found very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a life changer in
Yeah.
any social context.
Yeah, that's true. Because I realized that building connection is like really one of the important thing that we have in society. And then not every topic will resonate with everyone. So you kind of have to find your way to connect with the person that you wanted to connect with. Yeah. And so this practice from improv will definitely help you with that social skills.
Yeah, and as someone who is a bit of a caveman, but also I used to be really shy, introverted, more the thinker type. So in a way, was even getting older, but realizing the importance of connecting with others too, and networking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to say, but it's a skill like any other. So I read about it. I've done workshops and discussing with people, and the more you do it, the better you become.
Yeah.
Especially if you do conscious reps, what we call at the gym, rather than
Yeah.
just punching randomly. Like being aware of your form, like how can I improve it? So keep improving, keep putting yourself goals.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're talking to me now. Five years ago, I would have been here frozen, not knowing what to say. So I think it has helped.
Yeah, I guess that's also now that you are sharing about that being frozen, I think that was me as well. Like when I was so much younger, I can't really strike a conversation with a random strangers. So my recent feedback that I got was I just recently went back to my hometown in Malaysia, and then there was some neighbors there that have seen me since I was a baby, and they were like, "Oh, you've changed so much," because like I don't used to be able to strike a conversation with those neighbors, and I usually will be like, "Oh, hi, auntie," and then that's it, cricket silence. I can't really talk to them. But now that I have like improving my communication skills, I do realize that I can actually just randomly talk to them about whatever topic that may be available.
Yeah. And you have a podcast, and you bring guests in, and you lead the conversation. So I cannot give you a high five, but
Yeah.
maybe a
Um
digital high five.
yes. All right. So I also know that our Toastmasters we always emphasizes on feedback and every speech or every elements will be evaluated. So I'm just wondering how has receiving and giving feedback shaped your personal and professional growth?
Yeah, so I hope I'm not confusing the audience or you, but there's different elements coming into this. And career-wise, I've been a teacher for almost 5 years now, like a trainer,
Yeah.
and I give a lot of feedback. They do presentations, they give projects, they do exercises, so I give a lot of feedback. So some of that has come into Toastmasters,
Ah,
and what can I say? There's a whole world. It's a whole art feedback. There's so many techniques and different ways how to do about it. Another one we mentioned earlier is knowing your crowd. If you're telling feedback to someone that it's really like, how to say, they can be defensive or take it very personally, that's not gonna go well. They're gonna get upset, close off. So that's one extreme. The other extreme is the other person that you can like give him 1,000 things and they can take it all. And usually people are somewhere in between.
Yeah.
This I learned through the gym again, through martial arts. I did this Krav Maga instructor course to become an instructor. And one of the messages they gave us is give one and only one piece of feedback to the student per class. So like think about the number one thing that would make them improve the most and tell them that. Whether it's like twisting more your hips or like extending your reach a bit more.
Yeah.
Only one thing. Because if you give them too many, they can get overwhelmed and then not remember any.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
So sometimes it's better to give less, but so they can process it and remember, rather than overwhelming them with all the points and then they don't remember anything.
Yeah. And then also because previously you did mention that some people may get really defensive in terms of receiving feedback. So how would you deal with such situation?
Again, this is a long conversation, a long topic, feedback, but another element important there is rapport. It's kind of, how to say in a nice way, you have to get them to trust you, kind of to win them over. So that's when they are more open to being vulnerable and accepting criticism. Whereas if it's a stranger, and even if they don't like it, even worse, they're going to be really closed off. But if you can build that relationship, be nice to them, say, hey, here, I'm here to help you, I'm on your side. Then slowly they can maybe more comfortable with you criticizing them in some ways.
Yeah.
And that affects a lot how they can take it.
Yeah. And also, I think previously we did privately discuss about this before. Like, sometimes people really sugarcoat those feedbacks, and when a person like maybe me or yourself will be really wanting to know what is the main thing that we can improve on, but sometimes when the people that are giving feedback, they have beautified the feedback or even sugarcoat the feedback. How can we actually get those like really critical or important ones to help us improve ourselves?
Yeah, once again, it's a complex one. Like, there's some feedback that if the other person is not ready for it, it's just not gonna go down well. So, sugarcoating or being tactful and gentle can help in some cases.
Yeah.
That's another one I've been slapped on for not having tact sometimes, being too brutal. Um, but yeah, there's only so far you can go, let's say. However, if you need to drop a bomb or say something that can hurt or be hard, definitely you wanna soften things up. And a great tool in there, a great technique is depersonalizing. You heard about I statements, but it has to
Yeah.
be instead of saying you did this and you did that, instead talking about the situation or the context. Like, instead of saying you didn't speak loud enough, say, usually for an audience, when people talk louder, it's easier to understand and the whole room projects better. Which it's the same message, but instead of framing as a you thing, you frame it as an action thing.
Yeah, that's a really great tip there, because then the person that is receiving the feedback will not get offended
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. And then he will also at the same time get the message of, oh, yes, I need to speak louder for the audience to hear me.
At least it
Yeah.
softens a bit the intensity in them.
Yeah. Wow, that's really good. And so you have been consistently doing both Toastmasters and Improv, and these two will require a lot of practice. As you mentioned just now, you need to rehearse the script and all. So how do you really stay consistent and motivated in these disciplines?
Well, I'm just gonna say improv. The good news is I don't have to practice anything. Just get on the stage and see what happens. That's the beauty of it. No homework. Those
Yeah.
masters takes a bit more work.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of motivation, I think I'm gonna go a bit deeper into this one, but with anything you wanna do, anything you wanna achieve, first a powerful bit to help you keep going is the why. Like, why am I going to improv? Why am I going to Toastmasters?
Mm.
And some people would argue. I'm talking with a woman who's really wise, Catherine. She's done coaching for a long time, and sometimes we discuss. And she gave me a very good point, which is before the why, sometimes you need to think about the who. You know, before knowing why I want to go to Sydney, why I want to become a coach, or why I want to be whatever it is. First, you have to think about yourself and what are your values. You know, what are the things that tick for me? What are the things I want to be consistent in my life? Is it happiness? Is it honesty? Is it integrity? So first, get to know yourself,
Yeah.
and then get to know the why. In this case, maybe like going to Toastmasters or improv.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever there's doubt or the motivation goes a bit down, like ask yourself, hey, Carles, it's raining, I'm a bit tired. Why am I going to improv again? Oh, it's actually because it helps me with my people skills and my communication. And are there any benefits? Well, it actually helps me like make more friends, things going better at work, getting a promotion, getting that new role, with relationships. I think it's kind of reminding yourself of the why you're doing it.
Yeah. So with the why in mind, you will be forcing yourself to be consistent and be motivated to continue doing all these things. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Yeah, I guess because I know a lot of people, they could, start doing something new and then lasted for maybe 3 months and then that's it. They changed to something else. So I think staying motivated and consistent is really important.
Yeah, there's many elements in there. It's kind of my field. Yeah, when I help people achieve the goals or turn their life around, many times we've got those limiting beliefs in the inside. We may not realize, but other reasons that make us quit or stop or go back to where we were before, because the mind doesn't like change. If something working, even though our life may not be perfect, we're still alive. So somewhat, it's still working.
Yeah.
One thing. So it wants to
Mm-hmm.
protect the way we're doing things.
Yep.
So you can try to change things a bit, but unless you put enough intensity and enough repetitions in there, it's gonna revert back to how it was doing things before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very common thing. I put my hand up. I've also reverted habits myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, in my journey, the gym has been a great discipline teacher. Martial arts teach you a lot about discipline, and you get hit, you go down, well, you have to stand back up and keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of limiting beliefs, habit building, and I'm gonna say now, and especially I'm gonna talk to the men in the audience. I
Mm-hmm.
know sometimes we want to be tough and we are told to be tough, but sometimes it's okay to ask for the buddy and to work with someone else. Same as you play soccer, it's not just you running on the field, is it? You pass the ball to someone else, they pass it to someone else, they pass it back to you. So if you work with a team with someone that knows about these things, well, it actually can mean the difference between losing or winning the game.
Yeah. I think having that team or that support system is really important in everyone's life. Finding someone that can really support you in life is, yeah, it's really important.
And this connects to the element of vulnerability. Before you're putting me on the spot today, yeah, making me really vulnerable, yeah. Um, like again, maybe it's been my journey, but I felt like I shouldn't show these things. I should always be strong and like I have no problems.
Mm.
But through vulnerability and exploring it, I realized that it's also a display of strength.
Mm.
Like if you're in a fight, my world, when you strike, you're opening up, and that's a form of weakness, like of vulnerability, of exposing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, it's kind of you have to take blows to be able to give back and to win that fight. So similarly, if you want to become stronger, if you want to achieve higher goals, Sometimes you're gonna have to open up a bit and be okay with being hurt and admitting that you have problems. And if someone else has answers, who has more experience, or can help you, well, do you want to win that fight? Well, there's a coach there that can help you. In your hands it is.
Yeah. But it's also important to open up to someone that you really trust and can really help you. Don't just open up to anyone.
The choice, you can go improv way and just close your eyes and see what happens, or you can be more sensible about it and know who
Yeah.
you're working with and why.
Yeah. But yeah, jokes aside, I really agree with you. Like, if there's a coach out there that can help you with your problem, reach out to that person, and yeah, you will then gradually improve in life. Yeah. And so, lastly, if let's say there's anyone that really wanted to join Toastmasters or improv and they feel really nervous about public speaking, do you have any advice for these new people that wanting to join these clubs?
So I think my teacher is gonna slap me again for being harsh, but I've got bad news for them. It's just part of the journey. Um, Again, a martial arts reference. If you listen to interviews from Mike Tyson, GSP, any of the biggest fighters in history, many of them, they ask them like, "Hey, you're the baddest man on the planet. Tomorrow you've got a fight. You probably feel like, just another day in the office. This is nothing." And many of them say, "You know what? I actually scare myself to the bones. I'm super scared, but I just get on the ring and do my job." So it's kind of, unfortunately, it's kind of part of the journey, that fear, that discomfort. A bit like that mind we said earlier that doesn't like change. So the mind tries to keep you the way you are.
Yeah.
However, a little tip that can help there is learning that it's not a black or white thing, it's a gray thing. So say I'm scared of the water, I'm scared of swimming. Well, you don't have to go straight into the swimming pool and swim. The first day, or the beach, thinking Bondi here in Sydney, you're scared of the water. The first day, maybe you go with a friend and you just go to the beach, you don't even get inside it. You just stay outside with your friend, someone that makes you feel safe. And it may be scary, like triggering. You do it for a bit. Go back home. You don't even need to touch the water. You do
Yeah.
that for several times, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly, that fear will calm down a bit, that anxiety will calm down a bit. And then maybe one day you get a bit closer, and you keep doing it until that fear will happen, but slowly calms down. One day maybe you dare to put a foot in the water, just put it in and out, and then reset. Maybe go back home, process it, see if another day you can do it again, and then one foot becomes 2 foot. Maybe one day you manage to spend 1 minute, 5 minutes, one day up until your ankles to your knees, until slowly but surely one day you manage to get into the water, and you'll be surprised. The fear may not disappear, but guess what? Now you're in the water swimming and being like anyone else, looking about those sharks and those jellyfish that anyone thinks about. Don't you worry.
Wow.
Progressively, perhaps.
Yeah, I really like how you relate going to the beach, going into the water, relating back to the speeches because I can really relate. As we have different aspects in the Toastmasters, it's not like you need to deliver a 7 minute speech every time. So you could do something like doing a toast or doing answering the table topics, for example. So it's like just dipping your foot into the water and yeah, just get to experience it a little bit. And before you're ready, yeah, you can try all those things. And once you're ready and you think you're confident enough to do it, then go all in, try the speech. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really interesting conversation that we have here. And Carlos has so many insights to share with us. So we can really see that Carlos has embodies those essence of growth and resilience and perseverance throughout his journey in speaking, specifically in Toastmasters and improv. So if you are as inspired as I am, don't forget to share this episode with someone who can benefit from it. And remember, growth is a journey, not a destination. So stay tuned for more transformative conversations here on the Unshakable Growth podcast. Until next time, keep growing and keep shining. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, ST.
Thanks for tuning in the Unshakable Growth. Stay unshakable, and I'll catch you in the next episode.